Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever looked in the mirror and asked yourself, why wasn't I enough? Have you ever stayed awake at night, replaying the pain, searching for closure that never came? If your heart has ever felt heavy with disappointment, then this message is for you. But let me tell you something, this is not a story of sadness. This is a story of transformation, of rising from the ashes, of becoming so powerful that those who once took you for granted are left in awe. Because, my friends, the greatest revenge is not anger, not begging, not proving a point. The greatest revenge is becoming someone they never imagined you could be. So today, I am not here to tell you how to make someone regret hurting you by chasing them. I am here to show you how to make them regret by becoming unstoppable. Stay with me till the end, because this might just change your life. Healing is the best revenge because it transforms pain into power in a way that nothing else can. When someone hurts you, the natural instinct is to react, to seek answers, to demand justice for the pain inflicted upon you. But the truth is, the most powerful way to make them regret ever hurting you is not through anger, not through confrontation, and certainly not through trying to make them feel what you felt. It is by rising above it all and becoming the best version of yourself, so much so that their absence no longer matters. Pain can break you or it can build you. The choice is yours. When someone walks away from your life, when they betray your trust or make you feel like you were not enough, the most profound way to respond is to heal. Healing is not weakness, it is strength. It takes immense courage to look at yourself in the mirror and decide that your happiness is no longer dependent on another person. It takes resilience to gather the broken pieces of your heart and rebuild yourself into someone stronger, wiser, and more radiant than ever before. There is something deeply powerful about choosing yourself in a world that expects you to fall apart when someone leaves. They expect you to be shattered. They expect you to drown in your pain. They expect you to beg, to chase, to try and prove your worth. But when you choose healing, you do something they never saw coming. You rise, you evolve. You become a version of yourself that even you didn't know existed. And that is when regret begins to settle in. Because nothing unsettles a person more than realizing that the one they hurt is thriving without them. Healing does not happen overnight. It is a process, a journey that demands patience, self-love, and a willingness to grow. At first, it may feel impossible. The memories will haunt you. The words they said will echo in your mind. The moments of pain will replay like an endless loop. But slowly, as you start investing in yourself, as you start focusing on your growth, something shifts. You begin to realize that your worth was never tied to their validation. You begin to understand that losing them was not your loss, it was a redirection to something greater. One of the most liberating truths in life is understanding that you do not need closure from another person to move on. Closure comes from within. It comes from deciding that you will no longer allow someone's actions to define your happiness. It comes from knowing that healing is a choice, and that choice is entirely in your hands. When you focus on healing, you shift your energy away from them and back to yourself. You stop wondering if they regret hurting you because, quite frankly, it no longer matters. What matters is that you have rebuilt yourself into someone who no longer needs them. Growth is the most beautiful revenge. Imagine becoming so at peace with yourself, so successful in your own journey, that the person who once hurt you looks back and realizes what they lost. But by then, it is too late, because you are no longer the same person they left behind. You have become someone stronger, wiser, and infinitely more radiant. The things that once broke you no longer hold power over you. The pain that once consumed you has become the fire that fuels your greatness. There is something incredibly powerful about silence. When you heal in silence, when you glow up without seeking their attention, when you rise without announcing your progress, you create a mystery that is impossible to ignore. People expect a reaction. They expect you to lash out, to prove a point, to make noise about your pain. But when you simply grow, when you elevate in ways they never expected, they begin to wonder. And wondering leads to regret. Healing is not about proving anything to anyone. It is not about making them see what they lost. It is about making yourself realize what you gained. You gained freedom from someone who did not value you. You gained a deeper understanding of yourself. You gained the strength to walk away from anything that does not serve your growth. And most importantly, you gain the ability to write your own story on your own terms without waiting for anyone else to complete it. They say time heals all wounds, but that is only half the truth. Time does not heal unless you decide to heal. Time is simply a tool, but the real healing happens when you make the choice to stop looking back and start focusing on yourself. Healing is a commitment to self-love, to growth, to becoming so whole within yourself that no one's absence can ever make you feel incomplete again. It is important to understand that revenge rooted in bitterness only keeps you tied to the past. But revenge rooted in self-growth is what sets you free. When you choose healing, you break free from the chains of resentment and step into a life where your happiness is no longer dependent on someone else's actions. You no longer waste energy trying to make them see your worth because your worth is already established within you by you and for you. The most beautiful part of this journey is that in the process of healing, you realize that you were never the one who lost. They were. Because they walked away from someone who had the capacity to love deeply, to care unconditionally, to give wholeheartedly. And when they see you thriving, when they see you standing tall, unshaken, and unstoppable, that is when the regret truly begins. But by then, it no longer matters to you, because you have already won. Pain has a way of changing people. It can make you feel small, powerless, and broken. It can make you believe that you are nothing more than the wounds you carry. But pain is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to transform you. Every great comeback story begins with a moment of suffering, a moment where everything seems lost. But what separates those who stay in their suffering from those who rise above it is the ability to take that pain and turn it into power. There is a moment after heartbreak where the world feels heavier, where every step forward feels impossible. You replay conversations in your mind, wondering if you could have done something differently. You go through memories, trying to find the exact moment things changed. And then, when the weight of it all feels unbearable, you are left with a choice to let this pain define you or to let it fuel you. It is in this moment that transformation begins. The most powerful people in the world are not those who have never experienced pain. They are the ones who have taken their pain and turned it into their greatest strength. When someone breaks your heart, when they make you feel like you are not enough, you have two options. You can stay stuck in that hurt, or you can use it as fuel to become someone even greater than before. The choice is always yours. There is something powerful about hitting rock bottom because once you are there, the only way to go is up. It is in the moments of deepest pain that people find their true strength. Pain pushes you to grow in ways that comfort never could. It forces you to look within, to ask yourself who you really are, and to decide what kind of life you want to create moving forward. Pain is not an enemy. It is a teacher. It is the fire that forges the strongest souls. When someone hurts you, it is easy to focus on them, on what they did, on why they did it, on how unfair it all feels. But the more energy you give to them, the less energy you have for yourself. The moment you stop making it about them and start making it about you is the moment everything changes. This pain is now yours. It belongs to you. And that means you have the power to decide what to do with it. You can let it consume you, or you can let it transform you into someone unstoppable. There is nothing more powerful than a person who has turned their pain into purpose. When you take everything that hurts you and use it as motivation to build yourself, to grow, to succeed, you take back control. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the author of your own story. The moment you decide that your pain will not break you but build you, you become a force to be reckoned with. Strength does not come from never being hurt. It comes from rising every time you fall. It comes from looking at your scars and seeing them as proof of survival, as reminders that you have been through the fire and come out stronger. The pain you feel today is shaping you into the person you are meant to be. It is giving you the resilience, the wisdom, and the strength that will one day make you look back and realize that this moment of suffering was the beginning of something extraordinary. There is a reason why some of the most successful people in the world have stories of heartbreak, betrayal, and struggle. It is because they took their pain and used it to push themselves further than they ever thought possible. They turned their hurt into hunger, their wounds into wisdom. They refused to let their past dictate their future. And that is the power of pain. It can be your greatest weakness or your greatest weapon. The choice is always yours. When you stop seeing pain as something that happened to you and start seeing it as something happening for you, everything shifts. Instead of feeling powerless, you feel in control. Instead of feeling lost, you feel driven. Instead of letting pain hold you back, you let it push you forward. The things that were meant to break you become the things that make you unstoppable. Healing does not mean forgetting what happened. It does not mean pretending the pain never existed. It means taking that pain and using it to build a better version of yourself. It means letting go of the need for revenge and replacing it with the desire for growth. The best way to show that you were never broken is not by seeking validation from those who hurt you, but by becoming someone so powerful, so successful, and so full of life that their absence no longer matters. Every time you feel like giving up, remind yourself why you started. Remind yourself that this pain is not the end of your story. It is just the beginning. The fire that is burning inside you right now is not meant to destroy you, it is meant to fuel you. Let it. Let it push you to new heights. Let it turn you into someone who is unshakable. Let it make you so strong that one day you look back and realize that what was meant to break you only made you invincible. Pain has a way of making people question their worth. It whispers in the quiet moments, making them wonder if they were ever enough, if they could have done something differently, if somehow they deserved the hurt. But the truth is, pain does not define worth. Being mistreated, being abandoned, being left behind, none of these things mean that someone is unworthy. They only mean that another person failed to see their value. And when that happens, the answer is not to shrink, not to break, but to rise and become undeniable. Self-worth is not something that should be placed in the hands of others. It is not dependent on how someone else treats you, how they see you, or whether they choose to stay or leave. Self-worth is something that must come from within. When people walk away, when they hurt you, when they underestimate you, the greatest response is not to beg for their approval, but to remind yourself of who you are. You are not defined by their actions. You are defined by the way you choose to rise despite them. The mistake so many people make after being hurt is that they keep looking for validation in the wrong places. They want the person who hurt them to regret it, to realize their mistake, to come back and acknowledge what they lost. But waiting for someone else to see your worth is the fastest way to lose yourself. The real power comes in recognizing your own value, in no longer needing external validation, in knowing that your greatness does not depend on whether or not someone else can see it. Growth begins the moment you stop seeking approval from those who never deserved you in the first place. It begins when you shift your focus from proving your worth to them to proving it to yourself. It begins when you start walking with the confidence of someone who knows that losing you was their loss, not yours. When you step into that mindset, something changes. You stop looking back. You stop waiting. You stop hoping for someone to realize your value because you already know it. And when you know it, you carry yourself differently. You speak differently. You move differently. You become someone who no longer needs to be chosen because you have already chosen yourself. There is something powerful about a person who no longer craves validation. It is the kind of power that makes people take notice, that makes them wonder what changed, that makes them see the strength they once overlooked. When you start focusing on yourself, on your dreams, your growth, your happiness, you become radiant in a way that is impossible to ignore. And that is when the regret sets in. Not because you tried to make them regret it, because your glow is undeniable. Because the version of you they once knew is not the version of you that exists now. Nothing makes people regret their choices more than seeing the person they underestimated thrive without them. Not in bitterness, not in anger, but in undeniable strength and confidence. When you rise, when you become everything they thought you couldn't be, when you prove to yourself, not to them, but to yourself that you were always enough, you take back every ounce of power they ever had over you. The most beautiful revenge is success. The most powerful response to pain is transformation. The most undeniable way to prove your worth is to never again question it. Too many people waste their time trying to make someone else regret hurting them. They plot ways to make them jealous, to show them what they lost, to make them miss what they once had. But real power is not in trying to make someone regret. It is in becoming so fulfilled, so happy, so full of purpose that their regret is inevitable. Not because you sought it, but because you became someone they can never again reach. The key is to stop making your growth about them. Stop doing things for the sake of proving a point. Stop letting your motivation come from a place of revenge. Because true strength does not come from wanting someone else to feel pain, it comes from no longer needing them to. It comes from realizing that their opinion, their choices, their mistakes no longer have power over you. It comes from reaching a place where you are so focused on building yourself that what they think, what they feel, what they regret or do not regret becomes irrelevant. You are always enough. Their failure to see it does not change that. Their inability to appreciate your value does not mean you were ever lacking. The way they treated you, the way they left, the way they made you feel, none of that defines you. What defines you is the way you rise from it, the way you refuse to let it break you, the way you use it as fuel to become the greatest version of yourself. The journey to self-worth is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about recognizing your own value so deeply that you no longer feel the need to. It is about stepping into your power, about no longer shrinking to make others comfortable, about realizing that you were never meant to be small. You were meant to take up space, you were meant to shine, you were meant to be so whole, so fulfilled, so radiant that regret becomes inevitable, not because you wanted it, but because you no longer needed it. Strength is not found in the absence of pain, but in the way you rise despite it. It is in the way you choose to stand tall when everything inside you tells you to crumble. It is in the way you take the hurt, the betrayal, the disappointment, and turn it into fuel for your growth. True strength does not come from never being broken. It comes from being broken and putting yourself back together in a way that makes you even stronger. It is not about pretending you were never hurt. It is about proving to yourself that no matter what happens, you will never be destroyed. There are moments in life that shake you to your core. Moments when someone's words cut deeper than a blade, when their actions make you question your worth, when their choices leave you feeling like you were never enough. In those moments, it is easy to fall into the trap of self-doubt, to believe the lies that pain tries to tell you. But the truth is, someone else's inability to appreciate you has nothing to do with your value. Their failure to recognize your worth does not mean you are any less worthy. Their decision to walk away does not mean you are not deserving of love, respect, and kindness. Pain is a powerful teacher. It reveals the truth about people, about relationships, about life itself. It strips away illusions and forces you to see things as they are. And while it may be uncomfortable, while it may break your heart in ways you never imagined, it also gives you a choice. You can either let it consume you, or you can let it empower you. You can either let it define you, or you can let it refine you. The choice is always yours. The strongest people are not the ones who have never been hurt. They are the ones who have been hurt deeply and still choose to love, to trust, to believe in themselves. They are the ones who refuse to let pain turn them bitter, who refuse to let heartbreak steal their ability to dream. They are the ones who rise every time life tries to bring them down, who refuse to stay broken, who refuse to let someone else's actions determine their future. That is real strength. It takes courage to walk away from the need for validation. It takes strength to stop looking for closure in places that will never give it to you. It takes wisdom to realize that sometimes the best closure is realizing that you do not need it. Because the truth is, waiting for someone else to acknowledge their mistakes, to apologize, to regret what they did, will only keep you stuck. It will keep you waiting for a moment that may never come. And in that waiting, you will waste precious time that could have been spent building yourself, growing, healing, and becoming the person you were always meant to be. People who hurt you do not hold the key to your happiness. They do not get to decide whether or not you heal, whether or not you thrive, whether or not you find joy again. That power belongs to you. And the moment you reclaim it, everything changes. The moment you stop looking for answers outside of yourself and start creating your own, you become unstoppable. The moment you decide that your healing is more important than the regret, you set yourself free. The path to true strength begins the day you stop letting pain control you. It begins the day you stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a survivor. It begins the day you choose to rise, to rebuild, to become more powerful than you ever were before. And that power does not come from making someone else regret hurting you. It does not come from proving a point. It comes from proving to yourself that you are enough. that you were always enough, that you never needed them to see it because you see it now. Real strength is quiet. It does not scream for attention. It does not need validation. It does not seek revenge. Real strength is found in the way you carry yourself, in the way you refuse to be defined by what happened to you. It is found in the way you love yourself, even when others fail to. It is found in the way you stand tall, even when the world tries to break you. It is found in the way you refuse to settle for anything less than you deserve. There is something incredibly powerful about a person who has been through pain and still chooses to shine. Someone who does not let their past dictate their future. Someone who does not let heartbreak make them afraid to love again. Someone who does not let betrayal make them afraid to trust again. That kind of strength is rare. That kind of resilience is beautiful. And that kind of power is what makes people regret ever underestimating you. Because when you rise, when you become stronger, wiser, more confident than ever before, people notice. They see the version of you they never thought would exist. They see the person they once took for granted now thriving, glowing, succeeding. And that is when the regret begins. But by then it will not even matter to you, because by then you will have outgrown the need for it. You will have found peace in knowing that your strength, your growth, your happiness was never about them. It was always about you. Healing is not about erasing the past. It is about embracing the lessons it has left behind. It is about understanding that the pain you endured was not meant to break you, but to mold you into someone even stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Healing is not a destination. It is a journey that requires patience, self-love, and the courage to let go of what no longer serves you. It is not about pretending the hurt never existed, but about ensuring it no longer controls you. Every scar you carry is a reminder of what you have survived, of the strength that resides within you, and of the person you are becoming. There will be moments when the past tries to whisper in your ear, reminding you of the hurt, the betrayal, the heartbreak. It will try to convince you that you are still the same person who was once shattered, that you are still trapped in the pain of yesterday. But the truth is, every single day you choose to move forward, you are proving that you are no longer the person you were back then. You are growing. You are healing. You are evolving. And that is something no one can take away from you. Healing does not happen overnight. It is a slow, often painful process of unlearning the things that have kept you stuck, of breaking free from the chains of past wounds, and of reclaiming your power. Some days it will feel like you are making progress, like the weight on your heart is finally lifting. Other days it will feel like you are right back where you started, drowning in emotions you thought you had already conquered. But even in those moments of struggle, healing is still happening. Growth is still taking place. You are still moving forward, even when it does not feel like it. One of the greatest acts of healing is learning to forgive, not for the sake of the person who hurt you, but for the sake of your own peace. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean excusing the pain someone caused you. It means refusing to let that pain have control over you any longer. It means freeing yourself from the burden of resentment, of anger, of bitterness that only poisons your own heart. Because when you hold on to grudges, when you allow the past to dictate your emotions, you are giving power to the very thing that once broke you. True healing begins when you take that power back. There is something deeply liberating about deciding that your happiness is no longer tied to what someone else did or did not do. When you stop waiting for apologies that may never come, when you stop looking for closure in places that will never give it to you, you realize that the only closure you ever needed was within yourself. You realize that you are capable of writing your own ending, of creating a new beginning, of choosing peace over pain and growth over grief. Self-love is an essential part of healing. It is about learning to treat yourself with the kindness, patience, and compassion you so freely give to others. It is about recognizing that your worth is not defined by how someone else treated you, but by how you choose to see yourself. It is about setting boundaries, saying no to things that drain your energy, and prioritizing your well-being without guilt. Self-love is not selfish, it is necessary. Because the more you love yourself, the less you tolerate anything that threatens your peace. Healing also means letting go of the need to prove anything to anyone. It is easy to fall into the trap of wanting to show the person who hurt you that you are thriving without them, that their actions did not break you. But the moment you shift your focus from proving something to others to simply becoming the best version of yourself for your own sake, that is when true healing begins. Because real growth is not about seeking validation, it is about finding fulfillment within yourself. Sometimes healing requires distance. It requires walking away from people, places, and memories that keep reopening old wounds. It requires making difficult choices that prioritize your emotional and mental health, even when they are not easy. Not everyone deserves access to you, especially those who once took your presence for granted. You are allowed to outgrow relationships, to move forward without explanations, to build a life where your peace is no longer compromised. Healing is also about finding joy again. It is about rediscovering the things that make your soul light up, the passions you once abandoned, the dreams you once put on hold. It is about allowing yourself to feel happiness without guilt, to embrace laughter without hesitation, to welcome love without fear. Pain may have been a chapter in your story, but it does not have to be the whole book. You have the power to write new pages, to create new experiences, to open your heart to the beauty that still exists in this world. The most beautiful part of healing is realizing that you no longer need the past to define you. You are not the heartbreak. You are not the betrayal. You are not the mistakes or the pain you once endured. You are the strength that carried you through it. You are the wisdom that came from it. You are the resilience that refused to let it destroy you. And as you continue on this journey, as you continue to grow, heal, and become, you will find that the best version of yourself was waiting on the other side of the pain all along. True strength is not found in the absence of pain, but in the ability to rise from it, to stand tall despite the weight of heartbreak, and to carry on with dignity when life has given you every reason to break. Strength is not measured by how much you can endure, but by how you choose to respond to the challenges that come your way. It is about reclaiming your power, standing in your truth, and deciding that you will not allow the actions of another to define your worth or dictate your future. Strength is not about seeking revenge or proving a point. It is about proving to yourself that you are capable of rising above anything that was meant to destroy you. There will be moments when you question your resilience, when the echoes of the past try to convince you that you are still trapped in the pain of yesterday. There will be days when doubt creeps in, making you wonder if you will ever truly heal, if you will ever find joy again, if you will ever be able to trust without fear. But in those moments, remind yourself of how far you have already come. Remind yourself of the storms you have already survived, of the battles you have already fought, of the times you thought you would break, but somehow found the strength to keep going. Every scar you carry is proof of your survival, of your strength, of your unwavering ability to rise. Strength is about making the conscious choice to move forward, even when the past still lingers in the shadows. It is about refusing to let the hurt define you, refusing to let the betrayal harden you, refusing to let the pain turn you into someone you are not. It is about choosing growth over resentment, peace over chaos, and self-love over self-doubt. True strength is found in the moments when you decide to keep going, even when every part of you wants to give up. It is in the quiet victories, the small steps forward, the courage to wake up each day and try again. The most powerful thing you can do after being hurt is to live well. Not as an act of revenge, not to prove a point, but because you deserve a life that is not dictated by the pain of the past. You deserve a life that is filled with love, with joy, with experiences that remind you of all the beauty that still exists in this world. When you shift your focus from what was lost to what can be gained, from what went wrong to what is still possible, you open yourself up to a future that is far greater than anything you left behind. Strength is also found in the ability to let go. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It does not mean pretending the pain never existed. It means choosing to no longer carry the weight of what you cannot change. It means accepting that some chapters are meant to end so that new ones can begin. It means releasing the anger, the resentment, the longing for closure that may never come. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of self-love. It is a declaration that you refuse to be bound by what was and instead choose to embrace what can be. One of the most empowering things you can do is to love yourself enough to walk away from anything that no longer serves you. This means walking away from people who do not value you, from situations that drain your energy, from mindsets that keep you stuck in the past. It means understanding that not everyone is meant to stay. that some people are only part of your journey for a season, and that their departure does not diminish your worth. It is about knowing when to fight and when to let go, when to hold on and when to choose yourself. Self-respect is at the core of true strength. When you respect yourself enough to set boundaries, to say no without guilt, to prioritize your well-being, you send a message to the world that you will not settle for less than you deserve. It is about refusing to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you, about refusing to tolerate treatment that does not align with the love and respect you give to others. When you honor yourself, when you stand firm in your worth, you attract people and experiences that align with that energy. Strength is not about being unbreakable. It is about knowing that even if you break, you have the power to rebuild. It is about recognizing that pain is temporary, that wounds heal, that the sun always rises after the darkest nights. It is about trusting yourself, believing in your own resilience, and knowing that no matter what happens, you will always find a way to rise. Because that is what strength truly is, not the absence of pain, but the ability to turn it into power.